So let's start with my very first HTMA that I did in 2019. Now, at this time, I still had pretty mild to moderate icy symptoms. I had fatigue, definitely some brain fog, just felt toxic. I had some gut issues, food intolerances, and chronic UTIs at that point. So as you can see here, I had not off the charts, but pretty high biounavailable calcium, moderately magnesium, and definitely copper and zinc imbalances here. My copper was actually more of a toxic level, and I was a slow oxidation. Now you can also see that my heavy metals were also accumulating, and that's a lot of that was because of my oxidation ratio. So you can see here my calcium magnesium ratio was on the high side, often due to the loss of magnesium, as you can see here. And that was indicating that I'm dealing with probably more of a hypoglycemic low blood sugar situation. Calcium potassium ratio, the second one here, is high, and that indicates sluggish thyroid. No kidding. I was definitely dealing with symptoms of hair loss, brittle nails, fatigue, weight gain, but also I was taking thyroid medication. My TSH tends to run pretty high, my T3 low. This is often due to potassium deficiency, and also calcium. Both of them are necessary for sensitizing the thyroid gland. So potassium does, calcium does. So that ratio is really important. Iodine could also have been a problem, but I didn't have the information at that time. Sodium magnesium ratio here was actually okay. You can see my zinc copper ratio on the low side, which indicates that there was probably a deficiency, which actually, yes, that's why my alkaline phosphatase levels are always low. That's a zinc dependent enzyme. No one could ever figure this out, but I figured it out now. So that was in 2019. Don't ask me why I waited 4 years to test again, because the next test wasn't until 2023. So I really didn't have the tools I have now. So this is when things start to get really interesting after this. So granted, keep in mind, I'm 4 years older, so you would think things would get worse, but no, actually things get better. But in this case, there wasn't a lot of improvement because I didn't have Vicon and I didn't have Zeocharge. So really, and then I think by the time I got the Vicon, at some point, I wasn't taking it regularly. So you can see here my calcium has improved. So before I was at 149, but it's still biounavailable, and my magnesium really didn't change at all. Sodium starts to go up. So here my sodium was at 36. So we're seeing a rise in sodium. Could be a variety of different things. Could be stress, but it could also be due to the oxidation changing things around a little bit. Potassium went from a deficiency to now we have a little bit more here. And then the copper and zinc is, interestingly enough, because I had started taking molybdenum regularly, you can see now that the high levels of copper are coming down. So here we had actually excess copper, but then here we have unbound copper. So likely I was chelating it. Now at this point I was also taking Zeo Boost. So Zeocharge was not available. I was taking Zeo Boost, so I'm sure that was helping chelating some of this excess copper. You can see that my ratios have improved. So my calcium magnesium ratio from 16.56 to 14.4, which is improvement, of course. Still hypoglycemic, but better. Calcium potassium ratio improved. So still sluggish thyroid, but better. Sodium magnesium ratio kind of a little bit higher here, but as you'll see in the next test, that could be due to the speeding up the oxidation rate as sodium levels start to go up a little bit. Sodium potassium ratio here improved. So you can see my my primary adrenal ratio is going towards normal. Zinc copper ratio flipped. That's because in the first test I had high levels of copper, and it appeared to be more of an overt toxicity, whereas now I'm probably at this point in time dealing with the bound copper. And this is just from years of using oral contraceptives. I think that's the main trigger for that. And then you can see my mercury levels have gone down a bit. I had amalgams in my teeth for a good portion of my life, so I had taken all those out, but also improving my oxidation rate, as you can see, as a mixed oxidizer, has also helped me with my heavy metals. But then you can see cadmium is now creeping its head, but I'm not worried about that because movement of metals is actually a good thing. This is where things get a little interesting. I wanted to put them side by side like this. So this is the only way I know how to do this. So then I came back and I got inspired. As you can see, I didn't take too much time this time to do the test on the right to the test on the left, but I switched companies to Trace Elements. And so my results in July, and I didn't have the Zeo charge in full capacity just yet, but I had Zeo Boost and I was definitely taking the Vicon more regularly. And as you can see, I'm a slow 4 oxidation, which is perfect. People ask me what's perfect as oxidation subtype. Now, so you can see here, obviously being in the middle is better than being on the end. So a fast one would be someone who's in fight or flight, and slow one is someone who's adrenals and just their HPA axis is completely tanked. So being a slow 4 or a fast 4, and out of these two, I think the slow 4 is better because you want to be a little bit more overactive than underactive. So that's where I'm at, and I was very happy to see that. Let's look at my ratios. So calcium magnesium ratio. It's a little different here because it's a different test, 15.35. So it's still trending high. Maybe went up a little bit, but you can see that's just the ratio between these two. But as you can see, they're in much better levels and more closer to ideal. So really just bringing up my magnesium will be beneficial. But my calcium is pretty much almost perfect. Calcium potassium ratio at 4.13 is almost perfect, which indicates that there is definitely improvement in my thyroid function. Sodium magnesium ratio went up a little tiny bit. Well, went up from 5 to 8. This is probably because my magnesium came down. Sodium was at 51, it's 35. So magnesium coming down is just what affected the ratio. I'm not too concerned about that because the sodium was better. And sodium, the one I like to see the most is the sodium potassium ratio, which is my adrenal ratio, is perfect, almost perfect. So that's reflective of how I feel as well. And then zinc copper was holding steady, but still not bad. I'm still dealing with this bio unavailable copper or unbound. Copper is coming down even more. So 1.7, 2.9. Along with zinc, but as you'll see in the next test, how things just turned on and improved. And finally, I had access to boron here. The other tests, they didn't test for it, but I did here. And I was taking a good hefty dose of boron. Probably needed to decrease my dose at this point. So let me show you what's in the final month. So a few months later, 4 months. I went 4 months, got very inspired, and started increase my Zeo charge to 3 to 4 scoops a day, mixing it in my Vicon. I started adding a supplement called glycemovite and start taking it daily. So calcium's come down even a bit more. So definitely can increase a little bit of calcium in food. Magnesium is going down. So this indicates I need to increase my magnesium. Sodium is going up. So my oxidation rate is speeding up and I can feel it. So I'm going to decrease the amount of sodium in my Vicon and just watch my intake of sodium. Potassium has also gone up a little bit. But look at the copper and zinc. Almost perfect here. And then boron's going a little too high for me, so I decreased the amount in my Vicon. All right, so let's see. Ratios. Calcium magnesium ratio went down a little bit, so we're seeing better blood sugar control, but I do need more magnesium. That I'm going to make sure that happens. And that probably is why I tend to run more constipated. Calcium potassium ratio. Wow, it went from sluggish to now speeding up and becoming more of a overactive thyroid. I definitely feel that. So I think I need to back off on my thyroid support a little bit here, increasing my calcium and decreasing my potassium. Sodium magnesium ratio jumped back up. That's probably because my sodium's going up. And I am almost wondering if because I got married in August, maybe this is remnants of the stress from the wedding. Sodium potassium ratio, however, is perfect, even better than it was in July. So I feel okay with adrenals right now. I'm very happy with zinc copper. In fact, I have introduced copper back in nutritionally. So you see how long it takes to take care of this copper problem. Everybody always asks me, how do I deal with copper? How do I deal with copper? It takes time. And you have to continue to monitor it like I've been. And calcium, potassium, calcium phosphorus ratio, which I didn't talk about too much, but that one's very good too. It's almost perfect. Selenium levels have improved from 0.07 to 0.08. So that's probably where the thyroid improvement is happening, because selenium is a cofactor for T4 to T3. I have started iodine, but very, very slowly. I was deficient when I did the 24-hour urinary iodine test. Chromium is probably going to be something important for me. I tend to run low in that, and that's going to help with my blood sugar. I could have a transporter issue genetically. Mercury is still holding steady at 0.06, but you know what I feel? That just means what my body is comfortable. So what your body is comfortable with certain amounts of metals and doesn't like to detox two things at the same time. So you can see as over here as cadmium is being prioritized, but not anymore here, it's aluminum. So it seems like it's a war between cadmium and aluminum as they switch back and forth with their prioritization. And then mercury just kind of stays pretty steady, which I'm pretty happy with that considering the amount of fish that I consume. And again, I've taken the amalgams out of my teeth, but I think a lot of improvements in my oxidation rate has really improved how my body handles metals. And I'm sure Zeocharge played a big role in that. So how do I feel? Lots of energy, sometimes too much. I can't sit still. I do get irritable. So I think that sodium is probably where the irritability is coming in. I have great mental focus. I'm overall pretty motivated. I sleep really well. My hormones are actually really good despite my age being over 40. And the only thing I can tell you is I do sometimes feel constipated. And so I do need to work on that. And I think that's a lot of that's magnesium. Here's my 24-hour urinary iodine test. Definitely a deficiency here. Bromide looks good. Fluoride, well, you know, probably need to take a look to see where that's coming from. Make sure my dentists aren't using that, but it's just at the cut off. And then chloride is good. So really I just need to slowly incorporate my iodine. So you can see this was my Vicon the first time. These are the updates that I made. So I increased my magnesium, decreased my sea salt, decreased my potassium. B1 kind of kept it around the same. B3 the same. All that stuff speeds up the oxidation rate. We don't want to go any faster than I am. Vitamin A has been decreased. Taurine has been increased to slow down oxidation just a little bit. Never thought I'd actually say that I need to slow down my oxidation rate. Boron has been decreased. Increase B2 to slow down oxidation, but B2 is a great supplement for nutrient for supporting methylation and histamine anyway. B6 looks good, the same. Probably could increase that to 50 maybe next time. And added a little bit more B9, even though I also have it in the FAST-OXB complex that has all the B vitamins as well. I added vitamin D in there, and then there's my copper. So I never thought I'd actually be adding copper back in to my Vicon, but it looks like that's where I'm at. And then I added a little choline as well. So this is where I'm at, and looking forward to seeing what the next Vicon the next HTMA looks like in another 6 months. So that's pretty much what you can expect as well on the program. Thank you. Bye-bye.